All right, so disclaimer. Do I believe the theory is true? No. Am I tired of robot people in theories? Yes. But the fact that people jump on MatPat and blame him for these theories. So let me tell you the second part of the disclaimer. Five Nights at Freddy's, let me tell you the starting point of this series. When we were first introduced to Five Nights at Freddy's, it was a game in which we were being chased by animatronic suits that were inhabited by the spirits of dead children. So we're already off to a pretty ridiculous start. Keep that in mind. The second game, we have the toy animatronics, but we still have the old animatronics. Even though they're withered and pretty much falling apart, they're still somehow chasing us. Those spirits are still there. We also get introduced to the puppet. There's Golden Freddy, who, despite having no endoskeleton at all, is still somehow able to move about. Usually he's always slumped over, but he's able to appear. The puppet, same thing. The phone guy's like, oh, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking and it can go anywhere. So again, we're already off to a pretty ridiculous start. Then we get to FNAF 3 with Fazbear Fright, and they're like, oh yeah, we found one, a real one. And turns out to be William Afton, who we didn't know it was William Afton at the time. We knew him as Springtrap. The dude who apparently died in the 80s. He got into the animatronic, to the spring lock suit. It locked on him. He bled out. And somehow 30 years later, he gets brought to Fazbear Frights, and what happens? He's still walking around after he bled out. So again, this is the starting point. This is already where the series was back then, when Scott was writing it by himself. Then we have the book series, the novels, and we get introduced to this young lady right here, Charlotte Emily, or as people refer to her, Charlie. Now, Charlie was killed by William Afton in 1983. But how but she's how is that possible? She was a child when she was killed by Afton, and how, well, guess what? Charlie is a robot. She is a robotic duplicate of Henry Emily's daughter of the same name, who was kidnapped and murdered by his colleague William Afton in 1983. And if you wanted to, it's right here with the. I mean, this is the hero fandom, but you can go to the wiki. But and she's a robot, but she can eat, she can drink, she can sleep, not just do 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 like shut down, but no, like sleep. She can dream and she bleeds. So MatPat in the novelization of the movie, which if you don't know, that's a thing. Hell, back in the day, I had a novelization of Pokemon the first movie. It's for people who may not have access to like a VHS or DVD or whatever, and they want to, it's a novelization. It's basically just the movie in a book, but also with more details or more lore. Um, and we have stuff like this in the movie. We have excerpts from the movie like this. No, Mike thought it wasn't cop mode. It was something else. Every time Vanessa's described in this book, it's always very robotic or machine-like. And then you have this part, which made no sense. Of course, it's most likely just her being under the control of William Afton. But Mike watched mesmerized as Vanessa's irises deepened noticeably in hue. They went from their usual soft, almost grayish blue to a deeper indigo, which is purple. The color shift was so pronounced that it almost looked computer generated. It was also enormously disquieting. Mike felt like he was watching a human turn into, and then just as his thoughts are being trailed off there, Vanessa interrupts him. I know what crazy looks like, Mike, Vanessa said. Her voice was comfortingly human. Hard, but human. So it's like, oh, well, it was just disproven right there, right? Human. Again, Charlie was a robot, but she was human. You would look at her, you didn't know she was a robot because, again, she ate, she drank, she slept, she bled. Of course, Vanessa being in the hospital, and I'm pretty sure that if doctors were stitching her back up and she was animatronic or a robot, they would kind of notice that. Um, but then people could kind of go off and say, well, maybe they were special doctors that worked with her, personally, and they knew what she was, and they tried to pretty much keep her separate from everyone else. That they knew she was a robot, but again, pretty obvious. It might just be the whole influence because every time someone's under the influence of William Afton, their eyes are different. In the movie, we see the animatronics when they're happy and everything, their eyes are their normal colors, like blue or whatever. But then when they're under the control of Afton, they turn red. So when William has control, their eyes change color. Hell, wasn't Michael Afton's eyes purple in the game when he was taken over by the animatronics? Was it Ennard who took over him and he looks in the mirror and you see his eyes are purple? Hang on, I think it was purple, right? Yeah, here's Michael at the end of the game after he's been taken over by Ennard. Eyes are glowing purple. Uh they show glowing eyes of a different color when they're being possessed or when they're under the control of someone. Um so now people need to understand MatPat is a theorist. He's not giving concrete evidence and saying, "Oh, this is 100% matter of fact." No, he is theorizing. And I saw a comment saying it's like these kids don't understand what the word theory means. He's taking evidence. For example, people want to say about the books not being canon. Well, you can say the books aren't canon, but ideas from the books have made their way into, say, Security Breach. One of these ideas was this place. I believe it was in Ruin, the DLC, where you go so far deep down underground that you end up in this cave, and inside that cave are very bright glowing mushrooms. Now it's kind of odd, but then if you've read the books, there's a book where they enter a similar place, a cave with glowing mushrooms. So is it the same idea, like the same plot and whatever? No. But obviously, what was in that book was taken and used as inspiration for the game. So you have a book with a cave with glowing mushrooms and a game with a cave and glowing mushrooms. Because you get down there and it seems very out of place. Just like stuff like this. Like, her eyes are like a mood ring almost. They'll go from purple to black. No human is going to do that. Um, Now, being under control of someone, if it was just the grayish blue to purple, that's one thing. But black, I mean, going from yourself to being possessed or taken over or whatever by William Afton to the purple, that's one thing. But black, having your eyes turn completely black, what is there a third party controlling you? I mean, this is the stuff that doesn't make any sense. So, as a theorist, MatPat looks at this stuff and says, okay, well, we know Charlie is a for in fact as a matter of fact is a robot. We know that there's like 3 4 other stories where there are children or people who are robots who don't seem to be robots, where they eat and drink and sleep and bleed and all that. So is it possible? Now, I think this is just more for the clicks. I mean, because you got to get people enticed. Like, what? He knows how the movie's gonna end? No, he doesn't. This is what he thinks is going to happen. It's not 100% fact, and quite frankly, um, people need to stop doing this, like acting like they know how it's going to end. We haven't even gotten the second movie, so you don't know for a fact how it's going to end. So instead of doing the clickbaity titles, just say, I think I think I know how the third movie is going to end or the movie trilogy ends. But even in here, he just says he pretty much thinks that given the evidence so far, how they've described her, and every time they describe her that it's very robotic in nature, as though there's a slight chance she might be a robot. Are we tired of it? But again, yes. But again, remember, we didn't exactly start off, in this, you know, grounded in reality series or you know, it started off FNAF 1 with robots chasing you down, trying to bust into the security room, robots that were inhabited by the spirits of dead children. That was the starting point. And just over the years, it's just got more and more and more ridiculous. Between the remnant and robot people and the technology that couldn't possibly exist at that time. It's just, but people are attacking the guy as if he was the one who made the concept of robot children. Scott is the one who wrote that. He's been in charge. Even now he had a say in the movie. He was not going to make this movie unless he was involved. So the books written by him or the ideas were made by him, even if he has someone else actually write the books, the concepts were written by him. He's been the brain behind FNAF. So to go after MatPat, um, it's like I said, blame Scott for writing books that had robot children in them. MatPat is just a theorist and crafts theories based on evidence being presented and things from past experiences. And also, he's no longer the same guy. He's now an AI replicating the behaviors of William. MatPat almost predicted glitch mimic in 2019. Again, that's the same thing. It's like William Afton somehow uploads his consciousness and mind onto a freaking computer. And it's like, this is the series we're dealing with. And then when MatPat makes a theory about it, they're like, oh my God, we got to take down MatPat. He needs to be canceled because this is his dumbest theory yet. Have you looked at the series that he's basing his theories on? Come on. Come on, people. The MatPat hate is so forced. He's going to retire. Let him make all the dumb theories he wants. Y'all just take good content creators for granted. Yeah, he's retiring. He's every time we see a new video, it's like, like a Majora's Mask thing of like, oh, this many theories remaining. Because he's done with making the videos. He'll be like Scott, he'll be part of it, like writing, thinking of the theories and all this, but he's not going to be like the face of game theory or film theory or whatever it is. Can MatPat genuinely stop accusing every semi-important person of being a robot? Again, blame Scott Cawthon for making a series that involves robot children. This new game theory is ridiculous. Me, the strongest and bravest MatPat subscriber. He has a wife and kids. The Walton Files. If you haven't seen the Walton Files, it's pretty good. But so saying that Sophie, yeah, Sophie will be the robot. I mean, everyone else is the robot. So according to MatPat's new theory, Vanessa from the FNAF movie is a robot. And I thought this character couldn't get worse. I mean, and throughout the movie, she is very robotic. And you can say, oh, it's trauma and this and that. Again, is she probably a robot? No, probably not. It's just the influence of William taking over and blah, blah, blah. Whenever MatPat speaks. Yeah. My mom is watching MatPat. MatPat thinks Vanessa is a robot. I'm done. Me every time MatPat makes another human robot theory. Remnant. Again, is the theory stupid? Yeah. Am I tired of robot people? Yeah. And he even says at the end of his videos, that's just a theory. But this is what happens. People are just like, I can't handle this. I don't like what this man has to say, even though he outright says it's just a theory. So, wow, almost 20 minutes trying to, again, MatPat, shame he's leaving. Maybe don't outright say, hey, I know how the movie trilogy ends. Clearly things, whether they be robots or whatever, just there's things that happen in the novelization of the book that just seem out of place. And given what we know about how Scott Cawthon writes, the fact that our introduction to FNAF was animatronics being inhabited by the spirits of dead children, and then FNAF 3 we get a guy who died in the suit, he bled out and he's still chugging along. How are people getting this mad at the guy? How are people getting so mad about him making a theory about something when it's based on a series that is already incredibly ridiculous? So I'll just finish this with the words of a great man. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.